I never imagined that riding a roller coaster could lead to heartbreaking tragedies. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was sweltering, the kind of heat that melts your resolve. The sound of laughter enveloped the park, layered with screams from the thrill-seekers. I stood at the entrance, my heart racing, but it wasn't the ride that scared me. It was the weight of expectation, the pressure to keep smiling when I was barely holding it together. My best friend, Lily, tugged at my arm, her excitement contagious. "Come on, it'll be fun. Just like old times," she said, her voice bubbling with joy. Just a year ago, we'd spend our weekends in this very park, losing ourselves in endless rides, but today felt different. Today held an ominous shadow. As we made our way through long lines, I noticed something strange. People were whispering, heads turned toward the ride. Some parents were clutching their kids tightly, eyes wide with unease. My palms started to sweat. "Did you hear about that accident on the news?" A woman murmured nearby. My chest tightened. My breath caught in my throat. They said it was due to a malfunction. The roller coaster towered over us, its metal frame glistening ominously in the sun. I could hear the grinding of the gears, the sharp clatter of the cars as they ascended. My heart thudded, heavy against my ribs. Memories flooded Mimi little brother's ecstatic laughter years ago. The way head chat non-stop after the last drop. His hair tousled like head just danced with the wind. But now there was only the vision of dread. Lily was bouncing on her feet, eager and unaware of my turmoil. "Let's go," she cried out, pulling me forward. Her joy felt like a weight, pulling me deeper into uncertainty. I couldn't shake the feeling we were about to cross a line we shouldn't. "I don't know, Lil," I started, but the word caught in my throat. The ride roared to life. The sound echoed through the air. We were seated, buckled in. The safety bar clicked down, a hollow sound that resonated in my bones. The car lurched forward. The world beneath us spun, adrenaline surging, but my heart felt leaden. Then came the ascent. We climbed higher, the ground shrinking rapidly. I looked down and the park became a blur. A moment of silence engulfed us, hearts pounding in anticipation. And suddenly the ground dropped away. My stomach lurched violently as we plummeted, and there was a mix of screams and thrill fueling every heartbeat. But I couldn't shake the whispers, the fear that seemed to rise like smoke. But the ride didn't end as it should. We veered off course, the sound of metal screeching against metal tearing through the air. The world around me became chaos. Panic burst forth. Trembling hands grasped for stability as darkness closed in. I could hear Lily scream, but it wasn't a scream of joy. It was terrified, raw. And in that moment, something shattered inside me. The ride jerked violently, and everything went dark. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The chaos faded into silence, a deafening void where screams once lived. I blinked, struggling to draw in a breath. It felt like waking from a nightmare, yet the shadows lingered, suffocating in their weight. As I opened my eyes, I was back on the ground, crumpled by the side of the ride. Panic-stricken faces swirled around me, their expressions reflecting fear, confusion, and indignation. I pushed myself up, my body aching, but my gaze focused on a singular point. "Lily," I gasped. Where was she? My heart thudded in rhythm with the chaos surrounding me, urgency igniting my limbs as I staggered to my feet. I stumbled forward, hands trembling, mind racing. I could hear sirens wailing in the distance, growing closer. A fleeting chaos painted itself as a backdrop. It felt surreal amidst the vivid colors of the amusement park. I searched every face, hoping to find her familiar smile amidst the distressed crowd. "Lily," The name tore from my throat, raw and desperate. I moved through the throng, feeling the stares bounce off me like jagged rocks. A woman gripped her child tightly, whispering reassurances that sounded a lot like prayers. "It's going to be okay," she said, though her own fear lingered just beneath the surface. Just then, I spotted a glimpse of bright pink dress she loved to wear, so vibrantly alive yet stark against the backdrop of the chaos. My heart fluttered with a mix of hope and dread as I pushed through the crowd. "Lily!" My voice grew shakier, panic clawing at my insides. Then I saw her, a swirl of familiar features set against the unnatural calm of her internal turmoil. She was huddled on the ground, her knees drawn up, trembling as if the earth beneath her was as unstable as her grip on reality. Relief flooded me, followed by a tide of guilt. How could I have let her take that ride? How could I doubt the joy we'd once shared? Bending down beside her, I took her hands in mine, squeezing gently. "Lily, it's okay. I'm here," I whispered, though deep down I wasn't certain what was okay anymore. She looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and my heart broke all over again. I thought I was gonna die," she said, her voice trembling. I felt the weight of her vulnerability seep into me, a shared recognition of mortality spiraling into our veins. "You're not going to die," I promised, though the words tasted bitter against my tongue. "We're okay. We're safe." But my heart fluttered at the edges, gnawed by the knowledge of the tragedy that had unfolded. The paramedics began swirling around us. That familiar red and blue light painted everything in stark contrast. Hope crackled through the air, juxtaposing a feeling of deepening despair. Moments became hours as we were whisked away from the chaos, the park transforming into a distant echo. I found myself sitting on a bench outside the hospital, Lily's hands still clutched in mine as we waited for answers that felt impossibly far away. Each tick of the clock reverberated within me, a reminder of our fragility, a countdown whispering that life could change in a heartbeat. Then a doctor approached us, his gaze heavy and compassionate. "There are some injuries, but the preliminary assessments look stable," he said. But those words came as both a relief and a warning. "We will need to run more tests, but I urge you to prepare for the worst." As dread seeped in again, Lily's grip tightened around my fingers. In that moment, I felt her fear radiate like an energy unto itself, binding us in shared uncertainty. With every passing second, I fought against the reality of loss, that creeping sense that even if we emerged from this, something irrevocably profound had shifted within us. Days turned into nights filled with sterile beeping and muffled words, silence heavy with an unspoken understanding of what could still be. Each time the doctor walked through the door, hope fluttered like a wounded bird in my chest. And yet, the specter of uncertainty cast its long shadow, gnawing at the edges of our resolve. But amid the haze of sorrow, flickers of light emerged. A nurse, with an empathetic smile, slipped us warm blankets and brought ginger tea. A stranger in the waiting room offered Lily a soft toy for comfort, her simple act of kindness shimmering through the gloom. These moments stitched together the fabric of our shared experience, shrouded in grief but woven with memories of joy. And then, one fateful morning, as dawn broke through the griminess of uncertainty, the doctor returned with news that shattered everything we had been bracing ourselves for. I felt the words hanging in the air, a fragile breath. There were complications. "I'm afraid she didn't make it." The world slipped sideways, time folding onto itself as reality blurred. Everything I thought I had held on to shattered. In that stark moment of loss, as my breath caught in my throat, the weight of finality settled in my heart. And then only silence remained. I sat on the edge of the bed, the sterile scent of antiseptic almost overwhelming, as memories of that tragic day replayed in my mind like a haunting film reel. In flashes, I saw Lily's vibrant smile, her laughter that danced like notes of a sweet melody, and then the fear etched into her eyes. I grasped at the remnant threads of those memories, blurring them with the weight of what could no longer be. Days dragged on after the doctor's heart-wrenching news, the walls of my grief closing in, becoming a fortress around me. I spoke less, my words retreating into a shell of despair. Each interaction felt like a push against a tidal wave of sorrow threatening to drown me. Friends reached out with condolences, platitudes that made sense until they left my lips and hung in the stale air. Empty words echoing within the cavern of my loss. Yet, amidst the rubble of anguish, I discovered secrets of resilience buried deep within me. The truth was a surprising flicker, igniting hope in the most unexpected of places. When the dust began to settle, I found myself wandering the hospital halls aimlessly, a refuge where the echoes of laughter still lingered. Haunting yet strangely comforting. One afternoon, I stumbled upon a support group, muffled voices billowing from a small room. Tentatively, I slipped inside. A circle of strangers, all cloaked in their grief, offered their own stories of loss, bound together through shared heartbreak. There was solace in that room, a fragile bond formed with each confession. Tears flowed freely among us. My own release was a gentle downpour against the harsh landscape of my emotions. A woman in the group, her voice soft yet resolute, spoke of her daughter, moments punctuated with pain that twisted my heart and resonated with my own experiences. "We keep them alive by sharing their stories," she said, her eyes glistening like dew-laden blades of grass in the early morning. I felt a connection to her and the unbreakable thread that wove through our pain as the days turned into weeks. I returned to that room, slowly peeling away the layers of my anguish. I learned to talk about Lily, her favorite songs, her dreams of seeing the ocean, all the little things I had once taken for granted. I felt her presence envelop me, guiding my words, breathing life into her memory. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the room in hues of purple and gold, a deep-seated resolve began to unfurl within me. I would honor Lily not just in tears, but through action. Inspired by the stories shared, I decided to create a fundraiser to support victims of tragic accidents, to give comfort and kindness where I felt utterly lost. Determination surged through me. As I scribbled down blog ideas and raised funds with the support of my newfound community, I discovered pockets of hope blossoming amidst the despair. I began to see myself not merely as a vessel of grief, but as a voice for change. Little by little, I emerged from the shackles of my sorrow, invigorated by the spark of purpose. But just when I thought I was learning to dance with the shadows, a message arrived that shattered the fragile sense of healing I had constructed. An anonymous letter slipped through my mailbox, the faded ink scrawled in a frantic handwriting. As I unfolded the paper, my heart fell. Tension coiled within me as I read. "I know the truth about that day. There was more to it than you were told. Find me if you want the answers." Each word ignited a whirlwind of questions that cascaded through my mind like a storm. What truth? About what day? My heart raced, the shadows of fear clashing with the flicker of curiosity igniting urgency within me. I sat paralyzed, straddling the edge of hope and dread as the weight of my loss settled back down. The remembrance of Lily and her laughter were overshadowed now, a muted tone in the symphony of vague threats clashing around me. Who had sent the letter? And why now? My fingers trembled as I clutched the note, the fragmented piece of a puzzle I wasn't ready to face. The storm was rising, and with it came the realization that I might discover more than just the answers I sought. I might uncover a truth that could rewrite everything I thought I knew. As darkness fell outside, I felt the shadows lengthen, reaching toward me, compelling me to delve into an unknown fate. I had to find out who had sent me the letter and what they knew. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the storm that lay ahead because the answers, however chilling, awaited me just beyond the threshold. The following days unraveled slowly, each second weighed down by a multitude of emotions. I spent hours staring at the note, its words etched into my mind, the possibilities spiraling into a dizzying vortex of fear and anticipation. The thought of confronting the truth both terrified and intrigued me. I found myself replaying the events of that tragic day, trying to piece together the fragments, hoping to stumble upon a clue that might explain the cryptic message I'd received. Determined to uncover the mystery, I began to retrace my steps, visiting places that held memories of Lily's laughter. The roller rink where we had shared so many joyous moments became my first stop, and as I glided over the smooth surface, I could almost feel her presence beside me, her exuberant energy radiating through the space. Still, the joy was tainted by the weight of loss, and the laughter of children skating around me echoed like distant ghosts, reminding me of what I had lost. But amidst the sorrow, there was a flicker of hope. I was greeted by a familiar face behind the concession stand, Mia, a friend from my childhood who had always been a comforting presence. Her smile broke the ice of solitude I had encased myself in. "Hey, long time no see," she called out, her enthusiasm infectious. We chatted, falling easily into our old banter. "I heard about Lily," Mia said softly, her eyes clouding with sympathy. "I can't believe it." I felt the familiar ache surge within me, but Mia's warmth, her willingness to listen, twinkled like a lantern amid the darkness. "Have you been taking care of yourself?" she asked, concern threading through her voice. "I am trying," I replied, forcing a smile. "I've been working on a fundraiser to help others affected by situations like ours." The admission stirred something within Memabe. I wasn't just engulfed in sorrow. Maybe there was strength in reaching out, even in the midst of all this pain. "Let me help," she offered without hesitation. "They'll join you. We can put together something amazing." That act of kindness was a gentle reminder that I wasn't alone. In that moment, I felt a renewed sense of purpose blooming within me like petals pushing through the winter frost. As the days turned into a whirlwind of planning and preparations, Mia and I grew closer. She became my anchor, urging me forward when I felt the pull of despair. Together, we crafted ideas for the fundraiser, each brainstorming session a testament to our resilience. Yet, every late-night call, every planning session, also brought a whisper of the letter back to Might's revelation lurking just beyond the horizon. One evening, as we organized a flyer design, I received another text message. An unknown number. The mere sight of it sent tremors through me. With trembling hands, I opened it, my heart racing as I read the message. "I know you want to know the truth. Meet me at the old park after sunset. It's important." I struggled to catch my breath, the gravity of the words sinking in. Should I take that risk? Did I really want to dive deeper into a mystery that threatened to unravel everything I was slowly piecing together? Guilt washed over me. Could I abandon the fundraiser, the mission that had begun to fill the void in my life? Mia noticed my growing unease. "You're pale," she remarked, concern etched on her features. "What's wrong?" I hesitated, glancing at my phone. "Someone wants to meet me. They say they have answers about that day." The silence that followed felt heavy. I could feel the weight of the decision bearing down on me. That IT might be a trap, she warned, her voice steady. "But it could also be your chance for closure, for truth, or whatever that may be." Panic began to coil in my stomach. Was I prepared to confront the ramifications of this encounter? However, just as quickly as doubt arose, a flicker of determination sparked within me. I could not back down. I owed it to Lily and to myself to seek the truth. "Can you come with me?" I asked. Fear gripped my words, the vulnerability in my voice audible. "They'll be right there with you," Mia promised, and the reassurance filled the gaps of uncertainty within me. As night fell, shadows crept through the trees, mingling with the remnants of fading light. The park we approached felt like a different world, draped in layers of mystery and apprehension. The rustling of leaves and distant sounds of nature created an eerie symphony that matched the thundering of my heart. We arrived at the designated meeting spot, an aging wooden bench nestled beneath the branches of a massive oak tree, its leaves swaying ominously. I glanced around, my eyes searching for any sign of the person who had sent the text. My breath caught as I envisioned the potential dilemma awaiting me. What if I discovered something I was not prepared to accept? While I waited, I reached for Mia's hand, squeezing it gently for the strength I desperately needed. Time stretched, each moment feeling like an eternity until, finally, a silhouette emerged in the glow of the moonlight. The silhouette approached, and as they stepped into the light, my breath-hitched recognition pulled me sharply into a storm of confusion. It was someone I knew well, a face I would never have expected to reveal such secrets. "Why are you here?" I whispered, disbelief shaking me to my core, as I searched for clarity in their eyes, their gaze, now intertwined with a truth that could unravel everything. The moon hung low, casting a silvery glow that seemed to spotlight the tension clinging to the air. I squinted, trying to grasp the reality of the figure standing before me. It was Ethan, Lily's older brother, a ghost from the past I hadn't prepared to confront. The last time I'd seen him was at the memorial service, where sorrow draped over us like a shroud, and now he stood before me, embodying both mystery and vulnerability. "Ethan," I managed, my voice barely a whisper, my heart hammering against my ribs. "What are you doing here?" His expression was a blend of uncertainty and urgency, the shadows casting lines around his features that deepened the worry reflected in his eyes. "We need to talk. You need to know what really happened that day." Mia squeezed my hand tighter, her presence a solid warmth against the rising tide of dread. I thought of the plans we had, the mission to honor Lily's memory, and the way I'd begun to stitch together my fractured heart with fragments of hope. But now, before me stood a potential revelation, a truth that threatened to peel back the layers of grief and expose raw, unhealed wounds. "Why didn't you just tell me?" My question hung heavily in the air, laced with accusation yet underscored by desperation. I didn't understand. Why was he here now, after so much time had passed? "I was afraid," he admitted, his voice cracking with emotion. "I thought I could protect everyone by staying quiet." Protect? I could hardly fathom how his silence had been a shield, especially for me. Protecting me? Or protecting yourself? Ethan dropped his head, and I could see his shoulders quiver slightly as if he were crumbling under the weight of his own secrets. "I didn't think you would want to hear the truth, not after everything. But it's eating me alive. I can't keep this from you." Mia, sensing the rising tide of emotions, gently placed her other hand on my arm and whispered, "You don't have to do this alone. If there's something you need to share, I can handle it. We can handle it together." It was a small gesture of kindness that flickered amid the storm. Deep down, I yearned for answers, to untangle the web of mystery surrounding Lily's death. "What do you know, Ethan?" I pressed, my voice steadier now but edged with fear. He took a deep breath, glancing around as if our surroundings held ears. "It's about the night she died. There's something I saw, something I should have told the police, but I didn't. I thought if I kept quiet, it would go away. Just tell me." The urgency in my voice startled birds from the branches overhead, their flapping wings echoing my escalating anxiety. "Lily wasn't alone that night," he finally said, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I saw her with someone she didn't tell you or anyone about. I should have said something then. But you didn't," I interrupted, overwhelmed by a swirl of anger and disbelief. "Why would she hide that from me? Who was it?" Ethan hesitated again, almost recoiling from the question. "I don't know all the details. It was dark, but I saw him, I swear. He was older. The last thing I heard was them arguing about some sort of secret." His words crashed over me like icy water, and I shivered at the implications. A secret? Each syllable twisted in my gut, transforming my lingering memories of that night into something sinister. Something I hadn't wanted to comprehend. "Mia, we need to," but before I could finish my thought, the sound of crunching leaves erupted behind us. We turned, and another figure emerged from the shadows. "Ethan," the new voice said, carrying an unmistakable tone of authority. My heart sank as I recognized Officer Mills, the police officer who had been at the scene months ago. What was he doing here? Instinctively, I shifted, placing myself slightly in front of Mia as if I could shield her from whatever this might mean. "I need to know what you're doing," Officer Mills stated, his voice low but firm. There was an edge to his tone that sent alarm bells ringing in my mind. No, please," Ethan pleaded, panic threatening to engulf him. "I have to tell her. She deserves the truth." Before I could process the weight of the situation, Officer Mills stepped forward, blocking Ethan. "You need to leave. This is not your business anymore. Not after what happened," he warned, the underlying tension clear in his eyes. "What do you mean? This is very much my business. It's about Lily," I interjected, the urgency swelling within me fueling my defiance. The officer's gaze snapped to me, hardening into something colder than I had ever seen. and you don't understand the danger you are putting yourself in by uncovering something that should remain buried. I could feel the world tilting beneath me as dread seeped into the edges of my resolve. Everything I thought I knew began to warp, becoming indistinct shadows, and suddenly I was faced with an impossible choice. To dig deeper into a truth that could dismantle everything I thought I understood about Lily's life and death, or to step back and sacrifice the sense of closure I desperately sought. What did Officer Mills know? What secrets lingered in the night, waiting to entrap me? The air crackled with tension, each heartbeat a pulse of trepidation. And then, as darkness encroached around us, a sudden thought struck me, a question that slipped from my lips before I could wrestle it back into my mind. What if Lily was trying to protect us? What if she knew something that would change everything? The silence that followed felt like an abyss, wide and waiting, darkened by the looming shadows of uncertainty. The night air had turned thick with a sense of impending storm, each gust of wind seeming to echo the churn of emotions within me. Darkness surrounded us, but the shadows were no longer just mere silhouettes. They were pulsating with unanswered questions, constricting around my heart like a vice. "Stop," Ethan pleaded, his voice barely breaking through the tension that had settled heavily over the moment. "You don't know what you're saying, and Officer Mills is right. This is what exactly is it?" I interjected, the frustration spilling over. Felt almost insidious, creeping into each word I spoke. "What are you afraid of? What happened that night?" Ethan's gaze locked onto mine, the weight of everything he had carried etched in the lines of his face. His eyes were pools of regret, and I could see the battle waging within him. Just as he opened his mouth to respond, Officer Mills stepped closer, emitting an air of authority that made my skin crawl. "Enough," he said, his voice sharp. "Ethan, you need to leave." And Yoha pointed at me with a finger that felt like a brand. "You need to forget all of this. Walk away. The truth isn't what it seems." "Forget?" I echoed, incredulity lacing my tone. "You want me to forget Lily? You want me to pretend none of this ever happened?" "It's for your own good," Mills said, as if those words were an all-encompassing shield that could mask the implications of danger lurking beneath the surface. But the more he insisted, the more defiant I felt. "No," I said, pushing back against the wall of intimidation I felt pressing against me. "Why does everyone keep telling me what's good for me? I need to know." The wind whipped around us, and I felt MIA's hand tighten around my wrist, grounding me. She had been quiet through this exchange, but I could sense her unease bubbling beneath the surface. "Maybe we should go," she whispered, her voice barely above a murmur, filled with a combination of fear and logic. "Oh," I declared, more to convince myself than anyone else. "Not until I understand what went wrong." I turned back to Ethan, who was visibly shaken. "You owe me this. I've been trying to piece everything together since the day we lost her. Just tell me what you know. We just might uncover something that matters." Mills retaliated, his tone now dangerously low. "You're digging a grave that could bury you both. Do you understand that? Some truths are better off not finding their way to the light. Or maybe some truths are the only way we can start to heal." I shot back, my heart racing as I stood my ground. In his eyes, I saw something flicker. Was it fear, or perhaps a hint of something gentler? Before he could respond, I glanced at Ethan again, desperate for him to share the remnants of his story. I saw them arguing. Ethan blurted out in a rush, eyes darting to Officer Mills. I didn't recognize who he was. He seemed agitated. He was telling her to let it go. And then he said something about not wanting to hurt anyone right before I left. I thought they were just talking. I could feel a chill creep down my spine, the pieces of a larger puzzle hanging just out of reach. What was she trying to let go of? Don't know the details, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was something significant, like an obligation or a secret that someone wanted to keep covered. Ethan's voice wavered, and for a moment, I thought I saw guilt flare in his eyes. Officer Mills stepped in, his demeanor shifting to more aggressive. "Enough. This is where you need to stop digging. You may think you're invincible, but trust me, you're not." That I felt a surge of heat surge through my body, anger and fear coiling together. "So you expect me to just drop it? To forget Lily's secrets? To stand idly by while you keep protecting who? The truth is, I am done being protected from it. And then, in what felt like an instinctual response to my outburst, Officer Mills reached for me, hand outstretched as if he meant to pull me away. I recoiled, heart racing as the urgency of the moment unleashed a flood of adrenaline through me. I had to break free. I had to make sense of my world. Suddenly, footsteps broke through the tension, echoing through the stillness of the night. My gaze shifted, and I saw figures emerging from the trees. My stomach dropped as I recognized who they were, acquaintances from the past. Old friends of Lily's who had drifted away after her funeral. Is everything all right here? One of them called out, their tone hinting at concern mingled with curiosity. In an instant, I felt the atmosphere shift. Officer Mills straightened, his expression abruptly transforming into one more calculated than concerned. Stay out of this, he warned, his eyes darting toward the newcomers. But there was something darkly ironic about the way fate had woven their path back into this moment at a time when everything was unraveling. Their presence ignited a spark of purpose within me, a reminder of what this was truly about, the truth about Lily. I need your help, I said to them, desperation slicing through my voice. Ethan saw something. If there's more to Lily's story, we need to hear it now before it's too late. Just as I finished speaking, something heavy fell into the air, a sense of foreboding. It was now or never. Before Officer Mills could retract further, before Ethan could slip back into regret, I took a step forward and exhaled deeply, realizing that the fight for the truth might uncover threads I wasn't ready to face. But something shifted in the dynamic, a new energy gathering among us. Together, I entreated, looking back at Ethan, hoping for just a glimmer of solidarity. Let's unravel this for Lily. And then, just as I believed we might take a step into the unknown together, the lights from a police car cut through the darkness, its presence a stark reminder that in this quest for truth, there might be consequences we had not yet begun to comprehend. An answer loomed closer, yet the very air around us felt ominously charged, leaving me gripping the edge of an unseen precipice, teetering on the brink of heartbreak and discovery. The police car's lights flashed like beacons, illuminating the confusion etched on our faces and bringing the night's turbulence into sharper focus. As the siren wailed from the distance, the weight of uncertainty loomed over us, dampening my resolve while igniting new fears. Would we be silenced before we even began? The newcomers exchanged uneasy glances, recognizing the stakes that had suddenly escalated. I could feel their hesitation in the way they shifted their weight, glancing furtively between Ethan and Mills. I longed for their support as I stood at this precipice, teetering on the edges of truth and safety. Ethan, I urged, palming the tension gathering in my chest. This is our chance. We can't let them intimidate us back into silence. Right, he whispered back, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I studied him closely, tracing the lines of doubt etched deeply into his features. But what if we dig too deep? Then we dig deeper, I interjected, wrestling my fear into defiance. Because if we don't, we leave Lily's memory and truth buried beneath the failure of our silence. Mills lowered his chin, a menacing smile creeping over his face. You think you're making a mistake? This is not a game. You're treading on dangerous ground. Suddenly, a warm hand clasped my shoulder. It was Mia, her presence radiating strength. We walked through darkness together, didn't we? She said, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding us. Then let's stand united in the light of truth. In that moment, something shifted within me. The fear that had been strangling my voice gave way to the radical strength that emerges only in the face of adversity. I turned back to the group, scanning their faces, hoping their solidarity would fortify my own point. One of Lily's old friends stepped forward, a girl with bright green eyes that had always sparkled with mischief. I don't know how we got here, she said, determination written across her brow. But I know how much we lost. If there's a chance to find out what happened, we owe it to her to try. Are you with us? I asked, locking eyes with each of them, inviting them to make a choice. Silently, they nodded, and my heart leapt with gratitude. But just as this newfound momentum threatened to swell, a voice broke through the stillness, a familiar tone that sent waves of dread crashing over me. Why don't you girls quit while you're ahead? It was Jake, another friend of Lily's who had taken to drifting like the rest. But the bitterness in his eyes did not match the unflinching loyalty that my friends displayed. You don't know what you're asking. You don't even know the danger you're flirting with. Maybe it's not about the danger, I shot back, anger rising. Maybe it's about finding justice for Lily, she's gone. He spat out, the venom in his words hanging heavy in the air. What's left shouldn't matter to you. You think peeling back the layers of this will reveal something beautiful? You have no idea what you're stepping into. The sting of his dismissal was palpable, but I pushed past the hurt that sparked within me. I won't leave her memory buried just because it's convenient. We can't let fear silence us. Mills had taken a slight step back, observing the tension with a meticulous eye, as if weighing whether a fight would be worth pursuing. The fleeting moments of fear and courage danced within me, kicking and thrashing in a visceral battle. Let's get out of here, Mia whispered, pulling me toward the side trail. Her soothing presence urged, though her expression spoke of urgency, even fear. I could feel the crescendo of doom looming like the blackened clouds that had begun to roll in above us, shrouding all light in an oppressive darkness. Wait, Ethan said softly, catching my arm. You're not serious about going against Mills, are you? Right now, I responded with conviction. It's about facing the storm, not running from it. I need to know for myself what happened that night. I can't let Lily's story end like this. He looked into my eyes, searching for something I wasn't sure I could give. And what if the fall is too hard? But before I could answer, the ground rumbled beneath us, a shudder of urgency rattling through the air. And then the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed more than one set, drawing closer. The night pulsated with a growing menace, uprooting the fragile optimism we had found together just moments earlier. Mills straightened, steely determination carving lines in his forehead. This farce ends now. The urgency of the situation collided with the fear swirling in my heart, heavy and suffocating. But in the haze of confusion, something deeper stirred a grim awareness. In that moment, I realized something monumental. Lily's shadow was not merely a ghost, it was a beacon, urging me to recognize that the truth lay buried within danger itself. Someone else is coming, Mia whispered, her voice breaking like glass. We need to. Are you end at us? I took a short breath, preparing to weave a path through the chaos consuming us. I felt an unexpected weight against my ribs, an envelope, crumpled yet familiar. My heart raced, a patterns of dread entwined with hope as I grasped it. Before my mind could connect the pieces, before I could question deeper intentions, I tore it open, revealing fragile paper stained with a message from the past. The message held something I hadn't expected, a name that struck colder than the night air. My blood ran ice as I read aloud, Darius Caldwell. The revelation hung in the air, each letter a delicate thread I never thought would unravel, entwined with Lily's reality. In that moment, as a crack of thunder rang and the storm above echoed the tempest within, I realized, for the first time, that I was standing directly in the eye of my own storm, and the chaos wouldn't let me go until every dark secret was uncovered. Fate was unforgiving, and I was about to learn just how costly the truth could be. The rain began to fall, each drop hitting the ground with a soft but unnerving thud, like distant memories imploring to be heard. I clutched the letter in my trembling fingers as if it were a lifebuoy. Darius Caldwell. The name stirred a whirlpool of emotions deep within me, pulling me back to moments I thought I had buried alongside Lily. Who's Darius? Ethan's voice broke through my reverie, urgency coding his question. His face was a concoction of confusion and worry. I opened my mouth to speak, but a rush of memories flooded my mind. Lily beside me, her laughter echoing as we sat on swings, plotting how we'd ignite the world beyond our small town. Darius was a name I hadn't allowed myself to remember, a part of her story that I'd buried alongside the questions of that dreadful night. I swallowed hard, struggling against the mix of fear and disbelief. He was someone she talked about, a friend or maybe more. Mia shook her head, a frown forming as the rain formed rivulets that slid down her cheeks. If he was important to her, maybe he's connected to everything. We should reach out to him. The storm intensified, and the air pulsed with attention as our breaths mingled in fog that hovered before us like a veil. daring us to step through. Mills continued watching us, a predator biding his time, waiting for the right moment to pounce. "Running will not save you," he taunted, and there was a warning in his tone that gave me pause. "We need to find out what happened to Lily," I said resolutely, hoping my words would push back the weight of Mills' presence. "But we can't do this here. We need a plan." Just then, a figure materialized through the sheets of rain, silhouetted against the angry sky. Panic crept along my spine, and I instinctively pressed closer to Ethan as we prepared for more chaos. But as the figure drew nearer, I realized it wasn't an enemy. "Gabe!" Mia shouted, her voice tearing through the tension like a lifeline. It was my brother, drenched but alive with a sense of purpose. "What are you doing out here?" I demanded, relief flooding my heart even as fear churned within me. "I was looking for you," he exclaimed, shaking off droplets like a dog freshly emerged from a shower. I saw the police lights and I was worried. A genuine warmth surged through me, a small beacon of hope against the gathering storm. "We need your help," I said, glancing back at Mills, who appeared rather amused by our familial reunion. "We're going to find the truth about Lily." Gabe creased his brow, glancing at Ethan and Mia in turn. "You're serious? After everything that's happened?" "Gabe, it's our only option. We can't turn back now." As thunder cracked overhead, he nodded, finally understanding the gravity of our mission. "Okay. What's our next move?" Dread nestled back into my gut as I realized the weight of my next words. "We need to find Darius." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind us, drawing attention like a spotlight onto the twisted scene of our gathering. Mills had stepped forward, an intimidating silhouette cutting starkly against the wild backdrop. "You're treading dangerous grounds. You think anyone will help you once they find out the depths of your inquiry?" Before I could retort, the world around me shifted suddenly. I turned to see a car's headlights wash an eerie glow over the trees. The vehicle skidded to a halt, a terrifying juxtaposition to our desperate search for answers. "What now?" Mia whispered, the fear audible in her voice as she glanced between me and Ethan. The driver's door swung open, and seconds later Jake stumbled out, his gait unsteady and the alcohol on his breath palpable even from where I stood. The shadows cloaked his expression, but anger radiated from him like heat. "You guys are making a huge mistake," he shouted, hands balled into fists. "Leave it alone. You'll regret it." My heart raced, the strain of the evening culminating into a taut cord between us, stretching thinner by the heartbeat. "You don't understand, Jake," I retorted, passion fueling my words. "If we stand down, we allow all of this to be swept under the rug. We owe it to her." Jake staggered slightly, the conflict evident as fury clashed with concern. "You think you're doing her justice? You have no idea what you're provoking." His voice broke, and for a moment, I considered whether his threats stemmed from anger or fear for us or fear for himself. But as he edged closer, the glint of his eyes changing under the darkened sky, panic snatched my focus back. "Let's go," I shouted, urging everyone to retreat back into the thickening forest, just as the shadows around Jake seemed to deepen with his undeniable anger. We pivoted, rushing into the tangled branches and vines, propelled forward by the urgency of looming danger. My heart raced as we pressed through the underbrush, the rain pounding against our skin, drenching us in both fear and resolve. But the weight of the letter in my pocket was a reminder that the stakes had escalated. The storm wouldn't relent its fury, an echo of the chaos growing between us, and I feared it was not just the storm above that would soon unleash its wrath. As we took one last glance back toward the road, the headlights from Jake's car illuminated Mills, who stood imperiously against the chaos, a silent predator that promised we were far from safe. The night surged on, but even in the grimmest depths of despair, maybe, just maybe, we could chase the truth. However, like the thunder rumbling overhead, a rising fear tinged my thoughts. What if the truth was more than we could ever bear to face? The rain thickened around us as we pushed deeper into the thicket, the underbrush scraping at my legs like cruel reminders of the uncertainty, pain, and heartache still lurking just under the surface. Each step felt heavier than the last, a contradiction of urgency against despair. I stole furtive glances at Ethan and Mia, their faces illuminated by flashes of lightning, reflecting both resolve and fear as we fled the confrontation with Jake. Where are we even going? Gabe shouted over the torrential downpour, his voice rising and falling with the rumbling thunder. I don't know, I admitted, grappling with the mounting dread in my chest. Anywhere but here. The trees closed in around us, dark and ominous. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were less threatening than the memories hidden in the corners of my mind. Darius, what would he reveal that had long been veiled in darkness? It was both a beacon of hope and a precipice over an abyss. Mia stumbled slightly in the dim light, windmilling her arms to regain balance. Let's find shelter. We can't keep running blindly into the storm. Gabe led the way, muttering under his breath about survival instincts. And in that moment, it hit me a reminder that through all of this turmoil, we were trying to stay alive, desperately searching for the pieces of Lily's puzzle in a storm that threatened to engulf us entirely. Soon, we spotted a dim outline ahead. A wooden shed, worn down by time yet standing defiantly against nature's fury, loomed like a relic of safety. We rushed inside, panting heavily as the door creaked open, a weak barrier against the storm outside. The interior was musty, darker than the stormy night, but I felt a flicker of comfort in the cramped space. As we huddled together, our breaths mingling harmoniously amidst the crackles of thunder, something shifted in the atmosphere. A sense of camaraderie enveloped us, even as the truth of our quest loomed above us like storm clouds obscuring the sun. What if we can't find him? Ethan murmured, breaking the sacred silence. His voice echoed, heavy with uncertainty. What if Darius doesn't want to be found? We have to try, I replied, although a pulse of doubt cracked through me. For Lily, do you think he knows what happened? Gabe interjected, eyes wide with the gravity of the possibility. What if he has answers we need? MIA's hand found mine, our fingers intertwining, grounding me as the weight of our reality pressed down. No matter what, we're in this together, she whispered, the softness of her voice a gentle reassurance against the heavy rain pounding outside. And in that fleeting moment, as the world outside howled in chaos, the warmth of our shared resolve flickered to life. We exchanged determined glances, each of us feeding off the bravery of the others. Even with darkness encroaching, hope glimmered like distant stars waiting to be discovered. We should split up, look for anything that might give us a clue about where to find him, I suggested, though my heart raced with apprehension. We can meet back here in an hour. Are you sure that's safe? Gabe asked, concern lined with protectiveness. If we stay here too long, we might wind up like Jake, paralyzed by our fear, I insisted, remembering his panicked warnings. We can't afford to hesitate. Not now. With a reluctant agreement, we made arrangements within the confines of our tiny refuge, stepping into the shadows, each venturing down a different path speckled with doubt, yet illuminated by the hope of discovery. I weaved through the trees, drenched to my bones and shivering, a pang of longing for the warmth of our tight-knit circle settling in my bones. The rain obscured my path, but my determination remained unwavering. I thought of Lily, the laughter shared beneath the summer sun, and the secrets that had slipped through our fingers like raindrops now trickling from the heavens. It was then that I stumbled upon an old clearing, the air thick with the scent of wet earth and lingering memories. Old photographs littered the ground, their edges frayed from neglect as rain soaked through the paper. Curiosity drew me closer, and as I knelt, I unearthed a photo of Darius, young and vibrant, the haunting echo of a life once lively. But it wasn't just Darius. In the same frame, Lily stood beside him, her laughter frozen in time, a memory glinting against the fading light. They were happy, wrapped in a world I barely recognized anymore. My heart clenched painfully, the realization crashing down harder than the storm, connecting me once more to the grief I had tried desperately to shield myself from. Suddenly, a rustle in the branches behind me jolted me from the spellbinding hold of the photograph. The figure stepped forward, soaked through, anxiety etched onto his face. Celia, Darius' voice cut through the downpour, blending with the pulse of my racing heart. Darius? My breath caught in my throat as disbelief flooded my senses. The pieces began to align in chaotic ways. How did you find me? I didn't come looking for you. It was Jake. He warned me you were digging into things you shouldn't. He replied, desperation and fear swirling in his gaze. I was trying to protect you. Protect me? I felt the taut cord between fear and anger tighten. Protect me from what? The truth? The truth is what I want. And then I felt an uninvited chill creeping down my spine. Behind Darius, shadows emerged, the weight of coming calamity surging forth in a heartbeat as I realized we were not alone. A different figure stepped into the clearing, Mill's smirk emerging like the lightning flashing on the horizon, dark and inevitable, a prelude to thunder yet unheard. And in that fragile moment, as the embers of hope threatened to extinguish against the oncoming storm, the realization hit me deeper than any rain could. A storm was brewing, and it wasn't just the weather we had to fear. The room was uncomfortably quiet, a heavy air thick with the weight of unspoken words. I glanced around, my heart racing as the realization set in that my life had become a tangled mess of secrets, loss, and the desperate necessity for closure. Each face before me, Ethan, Mia, Gabe, and the others reflected a mirror of my own turmoil, echoing the anguish that resided deep within me. Ethan stood beside me, his expression a mix of determination and sorrow, mirroring the turmoil I felt within. I had spent days surging forward, through grief and pain, hoping to unravel the mystery behind Lily's death. Darius had appeared, delivering unsettling truths that set everything into motion. Now it lay suspended in the air between us, an unresolved wound begging for acknowledgement. Mills shouldn't be here, I murmured, my voice barely holding steady under the pressure of the moment. He's a part of this, I can feel it. Celia, let's just. Ethan started, but I cut him off, the passion and fear igniting within me a desperate urgency. No, we can't just let this go. If Darius is connected to Lily's story, if Mills is trying to protect something or someone, then that tells me we're on the right path. Mia squeezed my hand reassuringly, her presence grounding me in the maelstrom. What if there's a reason they want you to stay quiet? I swallowed hard, becoming acutely aware of the growing tension, the shadows lurking just outside the flickering light. Then we have to figure out what that reason is. Darius shifted uncomfortably behind us, tension radiating from him in waves. I could feel the cracks in my plans spreading, threatened by doubt and fear. But I clung to the conviction that had propelled me forward thus far. Memories of Lily washed over me, the way she illuminated every room with joy, how her laughter had once painted my own world in vibrant colors. The storm outside worsened, the wind howling as if it carried warnings that pressed against the edges of my resolve. Through the pounding rain, a sound broke the tense, a soft knock that echoed through the hollow shed. What was that? Gabe asked, his voice taut with uncertainty. I stepped toward the door, heart racing in anticipation, and as I swung it open, a shock washed over me. There, in the rain, stood a figure shrouded in shadow, the outline barely discernible. The gasping storm seemed to hush as if holding its breath, waiting for the revelation, and I instinctively moved closer, straining to catch the figure's face. The moment felt surreal, like the climax of a long-buried emotional storm, all the loose threads of my life coalescing into something inexplicably vital. Please, the figure said, their voice muffled by the rain. I'm here to help. And as my eyes adjusted to the light, recognition swept through me like a gust of wind. Jenna, I exclaimed, stunned to see Lily's childhood friend, the one I hadn't seen in ages. Her presence was almost ethereal, as if she had stepped straight out of a memory. What are you doing here? Her eyes glistened like fresh rain, and the vulnerability in her expression forced me to stay grounded against the roiling storm that raged around us. I heard about everything, about the letter you got, about Darius. I know things, Celia, things Lily never got the chance to tell you. My heart raced with a mixture of hope and fear as I glanced back toward the group behind me. You know about Lily? In that instant, it felt as if every breath I took united us, weaving through the tension that surrounded our circle, a tether that connected us to the shadows waiting to be illuminated. Please, let me explain, Jenna urged, stepping into the weak light, her hair plastered to her forehead. I didn't think you'd want to know. Booty can't sit by and let the truth die with her. There's so much you don't understand, so much she was trying to escape. Mills shifted on the perimeter of our huddled group, his eyes narrowing at Jenna with a sense of hostility. You shouldn't be here, he rasped. But his tone was feeble against the storm brewing within me. I've heard enough from you, I challenged, my voice echoing stronger. Then I felt. If Lily had a hidden life, a past she couldn't escape, then it's our right to discover that truth. Don't you see? The only way to honor her memory is to understand who she really was. Guilt flickered across Jenna's face, and tension coiled tighter in the air surrounding us, but a flicker of resolve shone through. I won't let them bury her story, she vowed, stepping closer. I don't care if it's dangerous, I declared, breathing in the weight of my choice. What matters now is what she meant to us. We owe it to her to at least know everything she faced. Tentative murmurs of agreement rippled among us, but the weight of Mill's eyes stung. You don't understand what you're opening up. There are shadows painted in dark colors, threads that can't be untangled once pulled. He warned, desperation clinging to his voice. Then help us, I cried, my resolve unyielding against the storm. If you know something, don't you owe it to her memory to tell us the truth? To do what's right? And within that moment, as the rain poured down and chaos seemed imminent, Jenna's eyes softened, the gravity of the night shifting in an instant. I was there the night Lily died, she confessed, her voice trembling against the sound of the rain. Each word fell like a raindrop into our hearts, drawing forth emotions we had all sought. Point 2 saw Darius and Lily together the last time. They were arguing something about a deal they'd made together, something that went wrong. The moment hung suspended in time. Every breath paused on the precipice of understanding. What kind of deal? Gabe pressed, inching closer. Something to do with a secret. Jenna hesitated, struggling against the wave of memory that surfaced. They were trying to protect each other, trying to escape something that was never meant to be. But it spiraled out of control, and when I tried to intervene, just tell us. Ethan snapped, raw emotion layering his words like cracks beneath the surface of buried secrets. What happened? She took a breath, her eyes pooling.